Hi, Miss Bacon again. I am going to go over what it means to plagiarize today. So, super fun subject. This is a very important lesson. So, you do need to take notes, all right? I will be checking these notes at some point, all right? So, you have to answer all the questions whenever I tell you to answer a question in your notebooks. So make sure that it's shareable. It should be on a Google Docs or on a piece of paper if you're doing it in class. If you're doing it at home and you want to write it on a piece of paper, that's fine. Just take a picture and send it to me, okay, whenever I ask for it. So in your notebooks, I want you to write the answer to what does it mean to plagiarize? I'll give you a few minutes there, right? So by a few minutes, I mean roughly about a minute, okay? Really just has to be a sentence, could be a couple notes, right? What does it mean to plagiarize? Okay, as you're finishing up, we're gonna kind of move forward a little bit. Okay, maybe it could give you some ideas about what to write for that question. Okay, some common questions about plagiarism is what does it mean to plagiarize? A lot of people don't actually know what it means to plagiarize, hence why I wanted you to write it out and we'll talk about it during the slide. Okay, what does it mean to paraphrase? What does paraphrasing mean? Is it different from summarizing? What is it? Okay. And how do you paraphrase something without plagiarizing? So a lot of people ask me this question because they may have gotten information from a website and had just changed a few words and were like, no, that's not plagiarism because I changed some words and I thought that was paraphrasing. It's not, all right? Um, Plagiarism goes a lot deeper than what a lot of people think that it does, and there's a lot more consequences than a lot of people feel like there are. So we're going to go into all of that today during this presentation. So make sure that you're taking notes. You will also have a plagiarism contract that I will upload to Google Classroom that you and your parents both have to sign and send back to me. It is also part of the handbook. It will result in having no grade if you don't know what plagiarism is. You will fail an assignment for it. There are plenty of ramifications for plagiarism. It's something that I really, really am very passionate about and that I care about deeply, trying to have you avoid, all right? So some examples of plagiarism are copying a significant passage verbatim and not revealing the source. Okay. If you just copy a whole paragraph from an online article that you found and you do not reveal the source of that, then it's plagiarism. Even if you do reveal the source of it, it can still be plagiarism to an extent, and we'll go into that in a little bit. Okay. Turning in a paper from a downloaded or online source. Okay, this is a big one, especially with digital learning. So with digital learning becoming such a big platform, a lot of people are offering services like I'll write your essay for you, or have pre-written essays already made out. Or you can pay for an essay. Even if you pay for the essay, it is still plagiarism if you use it, right? The essay has to be completely 100% from your brain, right? And from your fingers and from your computer and from your pencil to that paper to me, okay? No one else should be involved unless it's a group essay, okay? If you download a paper, it will get flagged even if you paid for it, and then you'll be wasting money, okay? Don't do it. Buying an essay or hiring someone else to write a paper for you and submitting it as your own. Same thing goes with that, just as we just talked about. If you buy an essay, it's still plagiarism. Even if you paid good money for it, it's still plagiarism, and you will get found out, because most of the time those companies that have essays pre-downloaded for you have submitted them to some sort of website, and it will get flagged when we check for plagiarism. Okay. Relying on a study guide such as Cliff's Notes to summarize a text. So if we're talking about Romeo and Juliet and you go to Cliff's Notes or you go to Spark Notes and the summary is there, and you are writing an essay and you're like, well, I didn't really read the book, so let me just use this as part of my summary for Act 1, Scene 1. Okay. Do you know how many people do that? How many times I've read those Cliff Notes and how many times I've read those Spark Notes? I will be able to recognize whether or not you just changed a few words from there. Okay, so please try not to do that. Using exceptionally long or too many quotes. This is a big one. So how earlier we talked about copying a significant passage without revealing a source. Even if you do reveal your source and you use those quotes correctly, if 90% of your paper is those quotes, then we're still having a problem here, because most of your paper should be from your brain about what those quotes mean. Okay, so if you have a quote, it should be 3 lines or less. That's kind of the given rule. If it's anything more than 3 lines, you should have a really good reason for using more than 3 lines, like a requirement, and it should be definitely less than 5% of your paper, your overall paper. So maybe 5 lines might work if it's a 5-page paper, okay? But 5 lines probably won't work if it's a 1-page paper. Okay, so using too many quotes will definitely still count as plagiarism, because it's still not from your mind. It probably doesn't fulfill the requirements for the assignment either, right? So keep that in mind. Changing words and sentences, the order of sentences of a passage of a text. So if I go on to SparkNotes and I copy the entire thing down, or I download an essay and I change a few words here and there, life to living, I change some synonyms around, I maybe copy and paste some of the sentences or paragraphs so that they're not in the exact same order, but they're all there, that's still plagiarism, okay? You cannot just copy the text over and get away with it not being plagiarism. It will be found. When we run it through the plagiarism checker, even I look through each and every single source that it came from, and I can tell whether or not you changed around the sentence order, okay? Sometimes you'll get lucky and it won't flag that, all right? But it will flag something else and it'll cause me to look that up, okay? Google has gotten really good at checking for plagiarism. Google Classroom has a really awesome plagiarism checker. There's many different types of plagiarism checkers. Your teachers can definitely outsmart you as far as like plagiarism goes, all right? Plus, we've all been students. We've seen other students do it before. Maybe some of us have even tried to do it before, right? Maybe without knowing. So please do not change words and sentence order of passages and expect that not to get flagged for plagiarism. It is still plagiarism, right? Citing sources you did not use. So let's say that we write a paper and you write, and the requirement for that paper is that you have 5 different sources from an online journal, right? And you cite 2 of them correctly in text, right? And you're like, dang, I need 3 more. And you randomly put 3 different websites, and then your in-text citations randomly are scattered throughout there. You just put them on there, drop them on there, right? And I clicked that website and it has nothing to do with your paper and nothing to do with where it put it, okay? That is still plagiarism, because you are trying to say that you got the information from somewhere that you did not, all right? And that doesn't match up and it still counts as plagiarism. Okay, so don't do that either. I know it is tempting, especially because you will have research papers this semester where you have to have a certain amount of works cited sources. Don't do it. Just do it right the first time, the second time, the next time, all the way to the last time of ever writing research papers ever again. All right. The most common problem that I've ever seen my entire life has been people think that you can just copy and paste, changing and change a few words here and there. It is still plagiarism, okay? Changing the words, finding synonyms, rearranging sentences is not an acceptable way of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is taking the idea, using your own thoughts, and kind of re-summarizing in your own words, not their words changed around a little bit, but your words, what you took away from that, okay? So according to Merriam-Webster, paraphrasing is a restatement of a text, passage, or work given the meaning in another form. So the meaning is still kind of there, but it's in your own words. It's how you perceived it, okay? How you saw that passage. And I get this question all the time. Well, there are only so many ways to perceive that passage. Somebody else must have done it, right? But if you just take that idea and you put it into your words, I promise you it will not pop up for plagiarism, okay? Plagiarism does not, you check the words the, them, they, he, she, it. They don't check those little tiny words, all right? They check, does this even kind of match up to another thing that we've seen on the internet before, all right? You must always include a reference or citation to the original source material, even after you paraphrase. That's right. So you probably didn't come up with the idea of E equals MC squared, right? So you need to give that idea credit where it is due, okay? You must still cite that source. Paraphrases that do not quote material still need to be cited. Okay, even if you don't have exact quotation marks in your essay, but you got the information from somewhere else, you still need to paraphrase. So let's say that I'm talking about Romeo and Juliet, and I'm talking about Act 1, Scene 1, and I mention a specific part of the play. I still have to quote, or I still have to cite that part of the play, even if I don't quote it, all right? So sorry, it's really, really blurry. But an example is when you have the work cited and then you have an in-text citation. The in-text citation is where you have little brackets, okay? And you have the author's name in those brackets, or you have the website name in those brackets. You have to match that in-text citation to what is on your works cited entry, right? So for example, states ranked on climate change preparation was the article by Thomas Summer, right? My in-text citation is report cards are put out there and some states are better prepared for climate change than others. And then I put Summer and the page number where I got it from. You don't always have to have page number. If it's from an online source, then you probably won't find one, okay? But your in-text citation should match your works cited. So that's what I mean by citing a source. And we'll go over that more in detail when the time comes for research writing. So as practice in your notebooks, I want you to paraphrase the sentence. The storm's gale force winds uprooted and downed power lines, making driving dangerous. And the source is Brothers Mathis, Wind Force and Power Science Magazine, 28 June 1992. So I'll give you about a minute to do that, right? So I want you to paraphrase it. And what do we have to do with paraphrasing? Cite it. Okay, so in-text citation, let's just try it. Remember, for the in-text citation, you put the two little brackets, all right, and their last name. So brothers. Okay. By now you probably should have come up with a few ideas. All right. So some of those ideas might have been any of these. So the storm's powerful winds caused immense damage and made driving dangerous to the area. All right. We left out some of the down power lines that might not have been important to my particular essay. I might have just been talking about driving. And then, of course, I put the in-text citation brothers in parentheses. And then I put the period after the in-text citation. All right, so that is the correct formatting. If you made an error in your answer, remember it doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but if you need to fix the in-text citation, please do, okay? And note where you made the mistake and how to change it. Another one could be the downed power lines and trees caused by the storm made driving dangerous. Brothers, all right? So we still talk about the driving dangerous, but this time I included downed power lines and trees caused by the storm. We have all three of those pieces in there if that was my particular angle into writing, right? The storm forced drivers to find alternate routes due to the destruction it caused. All right, brothers. So there are many different ways that you could paraphrase. So for some of you guys asking like, well, there's only a certain number of ways that you could rewrite the sentence. Maybe there are only a certain number of ways, but there are many different ways, okay? I could probably come up with like 5 more off the top of my head, plus whatever you guys came up with was probably different from whoever the next student came up with, right? The important part is that you always have that in-text citation in there and you have whatever relevant data that you need to from that sentence, okay? Right, now let's talk about the fun stuff, the consequences. Plagiarism, like I said, this entire time can be serious. The consequences for plagiarism can be extremely severe. Be aware when you make the conscious decision to steal another person's intellectual property. That is what writing is considered, is intellectual property, right? You don't like people stealing your stuff. The same goes with writing. If you worked really hard on a 10-page paper for a class, and somebody took it from you and got all the credit from it, would you not feel kind of sad? Okay, it wasn't them that worked that hard for that. They just copied it all and pasted it. It is intellectual property. It is your property. Okay. All right. As soon as it is published, it becomes in the domain that is yours. So it becomes your property, okay? School consequences for plagiarism. There are 3 big ones. There are some smaller ones, but 3 big ones, okay? First, you fail the assignment without the opportunity to redo the assignment. So most of the time I allow you to redo an assignment if you do poorly on it. If you plagiarize, there is no redo for the assignment. You are just out of luck, okay? And I'm sorry, that is school policy. It is for your benefit, not mine. I don't like failing students. Don't make me fail you. I catch people plagiarizing all the time and then they just fail the assignment. And it's not even like a 50 out of 100. It's a 0 out of 100. That's 100 points you cannot make up, okay? You fail it. No points rewarded at all, okay? 2, some sort of suspension is very, very likely, okay? It will most likely be in-school suspension, but it could also be out-of-school suspension. And depending on how much you plagiarized, will kind of help the principals know how severe that punishment should be or how long you had to do the assignment. If you had all semester to do an assignment and you plagiarized it, the entire thing downloaded from a website, expect out of school suspension for that. It will go on your record. And then last but not least is you lose trust, okay? And that might not seem like a big deal to you, but it is, and it will be. If you cheat in my class, let's say about halfway through the first semester, right? You plagiarize an entire assignment and I'm extremely disappointed in you. And we have that talk with each other and I ask you, hey, did you plagiarize this? And you're like, no, I didn't plagiarize it. And I said, well, I have the source and it says that you plagiarized it. I can pull it up for you. I pull it up and it's all highlighted and you're like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about, Miss Bacon. Not sure. Okay, you sure you want to lie? Yep, I didn't do it. Okay, okay. Well, now it's hard for me to trust you, right? Um, Even if you don't lie about the plagiarism and you knew that you did it, it's still hard for me to trust that you're ever putting forth that effort, right? And I don't like not being able to trust you. Our entire school relationship depends on trust. You trusting me as a teacher, me trusting you as a student. And if I can't trust you as a student, then we run into problems along the road. Okay. At the very end of the semester, if you are locked between a B and an A, and you are just like less than a point away, right? A lot of the times I will try to be like, hey, I think that you've worked really, really hard. Let's see that your efforts, your diligence through this class is rewarded. Okay. And sometimes I will bump up that grade. Now, if you plagiarized and I can't trust that you actually gave your 100% all during all assignments, then that probably won't happen, right? So let's just try to avoid that at all costs. Okay. All right. There are also legal consequences to plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is theft, and it is considered by the law as theft. You can be sued by the author. I have seen it happen in college where an author of a works it was poetry at the time, did sue a student because they passed off the poetry book as theirs. And the author sued them and the student lost. It does happen. Okay. The author can press charges, just like how that author sued the student that was for the poetry. The author can press charges. Okay. And really that goes for even high school. So if you were to plagiarize an entire essay that was written by a college graduate or somebody that really cared about that particular essay, they can press charges. Plagiarism is considered an intellectual theft, right? It is a theft. It can be a felony. And it can result into fines between $500 to $50,000. Actually, between $100 and $50,000. Or if it's really severe, let's say you plagiarize an entire book and you pass it off on as yours, and you try to sell that book, then it can be a year in jail. All right. The same goes for videos, images, anything else like that. Okay. Please do not plagiarize. It is illegal. It is a consequential thing. You will get in trouble for it. And I am pretty good at checking for plagiarism. I check everyone's plagiarism. I check everyone's papers for plagiarism all the time. Even if you're like handwriting something in class, right? And Becky's looks very mighty similar to Ashley's, then I'll be like, wow, did they work together? Did I say that you could work together? No? Zero marked as plagiarism. We'll have a talk. And that talk probably won't go very well. Okay. So please just don't do it. All right. So there's no assignment after this, but I did want to make sure that you did take notes. Some point in the near future, I will be doing a note check, and hopefully you have plagiarism notes in there. If you ever need to revisit this slide, it will be posted on Google Classroom. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me at kbacon@mcleodschools.us. Also remember, be alert and aware that you will be getting a letter for you and your parents to sign over these slides and the plagiarism presentation. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.